All right, hello everyone. This is Kendra Watkins with another ASUN Lunchbox, and joined with me, I have Bellarmine University head coach, men's basketball coach, Scott Davenport. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing great. Basketball camp. I'm doing well.
Oh, wow, basketball camp. What's going on in basketball camp right now?
Well, we'll do 100 this morning, 100 this afternoon, clean, disinfect in the hour in between. But it's, with what we've gone through, these 7 to 11-year-olds, it's incredible how excited they are to be among each other and back on a basketball court. The parents are overwhelmed. Here we are 4 days in. It's been a great week.
That's awesome, because I remember when we actually did the press conference bringing you guys in. I remember it was actually during camp, so we were checking out. That was my first time on campus, so I was checking everything out, and I was like, wow, they have so many kids here. There was a couple that were really good during my time there, so yeah, it's actually awesome to see that you guys still getting things done actually during this time.
Yeah, we didn't know. We sure didn't know, but we pulled it off. We're excited.
Awesome. Yes, and first and foremost, I did want to welcome you to the ASUN, and let us know if you had any talks with your team about the transition over and what it meant for the program during this historic time period.
Well, Kendra, in this day and age, they know everything. I mean, there's no secrets. And starting June 17th, a year ago, as the announcement was made, y'all were on campus, the transition was made, we vowed to our players, because of 4 very special seniors, Alex Cook, Parker Chitty, Chris Palmezio, and Ben Wire, that we would never utter a syllable about next year. That wouldn't be fair to them. If that was your son, how would you feel? If somebody came up and said, Kendra, congratulations, your son's going D1. You'd say, yeah. Well, he's not, he's a senior. So what we told them, we couldn't control what was said on campus. We couldn't control what's said in the community because the reception was off the charts. We couldn't say what was said among them on social media, but we could control as a staff keeping our attention to right where we are at the time. And that being said, it was probably the most difficult year I've ever had as a coach, because protecting those 4 seniors and to keep us in the moment of where we are trying to win a national championship. And then, of all things, we were during spring break. We had a great practice. We had film in the morning, a great practice. We were going for a team meal off campus, leaving the next morning for the NCAA tournament. And in between practice and our team dinner off campus, the tournament was canceled. So we met in a room, a private room at the facility where we're having dinner. And it was very emotional, because we've always had a kind of a tradition here that as a senior, you never, ever, ever want to take that jersey off for the last time. And you never want to play that last game with those current teammates. Well, those 4 seniors never got the chance. So that night in that room, we had our families, the staff's families were there, players were eating. We closed all the doors, and it was a very, very emotional meeting, very difficult, because they never got to take their jersey off for the last time. But we've been upfront with our guys. The moment when the tournament was over, then we're hit with the pandemic, then it's been full throttle, ASUN, NCAA Division I, every step of the way.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask as well, just during the pandemic, just given everything that took place, how has been the transition during the summer and just preparing for its upcoming season?
How's it been? Challenging. We've tried to be very innovative with it through Zoom meetings, but there's been stages. And I think it's been shared by the players, by the staff, by the student managers. The first stage was one, this is unbelievable. It was like the longest snow day ever, that you were very excited about a snow day, but it would never end. It just kept going. The second stage was one of humility. For example, we were having constant Zoom meetings with players in Cincinnati, Evansville, Columbus, Ohio, Knoxville, Tennessee, Anderson County, Kentucky, Russellville, Kentucky. We had, and our staffs everywhere were recruiting virtually. And it was humbled because we could do that. Like I'm talking to you right now. Allen Houston, an NBA All-Pro that I was fortunate enough and blessed enough to coach in high school. He crashed one of our Zoom meetings one day. We had a Louisville Metro policeman that retired from the police department who talked and was in our Zoom meeting with us because I've known him since I was a high school coach. You name it, we had people in these Zoom meetings. And we can do all that. And I was laughing with our players. Technology is so terrific, but like we couldn't figure this out. So it was humbling. You know, technology is amazing, but it was humbled that we couldn't figure out this COVID-19. And then the third stage is one of total, we don't know what's going on. The smartest scientists, doctors, researchers in the world were working on this 24/7. And this didn't just affect parts of our country. It was all over the world. So it was one of, wow, we don't know this. We can't figure this out. And that's where we are now every day. I encouraged our guys and stressed to our guys to watch the news. Just keep yourself informed. Don't get addicted to it. Because, my gosh, you can get conflicting, research everywhere. But keep yourself informed. So where we are now, the end of all these stages, and I say this not trying to embarrass our players. I would never do that. But 18 to 22-year-old college athletes in the ASUN, Division I athletes on scholarship, they missed each other. I'm not trying to embarrass them. They missed each other. And when they got back on campus as we started basketball camp, we went through some of the different ebbs and flows of the Zoom meetings. And they said, Coach, we had a lot of meetings without the staff. We missed each other. One night, it came up with the word that we will say in every single huddle. And there's a whole wall in our locker room dedicated to this word. And they wrote a passage. But the word was rise, as the university rises from Division II to Division I and then moves forward as a university. They came up with that. And that word will be said in every single huddle.
And it's awesome because that's one of our beams here at the ASUN. So we're in line. And Bellarmine Rising, I know that was one of the big things that we heard last year, just being there for the press conference. But again, I wanted to ask you just because you've been on the sideline for 15 years now, just tell me, what does it mean to be a Bellarminite, given that you guys have such a winning tradition there and you turning it around there?
Last year, we opened our season at home, November the 8th and 9th, a Friday and Saturday. And an incredibly generous couple, Dr. Mark Lynn and his wife, Cindy Lynn, had made an amazing gesture to renovate our locker room, dressing room facility. And I brought the 4 first seniors that I had at Bellarmine in 05, 06. Matt Miller, Calvin Fowler, Montonio Blake, and Kyle Thrasher. And the reason I brought them for the weekend games, they knew the before and after. They knew the journey from their very first locker room to what Dr. Lynn and Miss Lynn did for this university. They knew the before and after. And they spent 3 days with our basketball program, educating our players what it was like in that first year, like you just brought up, Ken. And those 4 were incredible because their respect of what it was before I came to Bellarmine and what it was like in 2019. They made the players, without a doubt, understand the journey is what's important. It's the journey. And these four are very successful in their own right. One's in San Diego, two in Chicago, one over here in Southern Indiana. And the one common theme, all of them would jump out of their skin to trade places with our players right now. And that thing kept coming up over 3 days. But I think that set the tone that our players understood, not just from a coaching staff. The reason we're making this transition, it's these players and these young people on this campus. It's not about coaches. It's about these young people. And the greatest lesson, people ask me all the time, what's the number one lesson you've ever learned in coaching? It's put the players first. If you do that, you'll never go wrong, ever. And for those four to come back and to share a weekend with our current team, of which all but four of them are on this team now, that set the groundwork on this transition that's occurring right now.
All right, awesome. And again, just touching on some of your career just before coming to Bellarmine, I know that you served as an assistant coach at the University of Louisville under some national championship winning Hall of Fame coaches at Denny Crum, Rick Pitino. You even had the opportunity to serve as an assistant to or coach alongside Tubby Smith as well. Just tell me, what has it been like and what are some things that you were able to just bring over to Bellarmine?
Wow. We don't have that long. Kendra, I'll tell you the truth. My mother passed away 10 years ago, and she said, right before she passed away, she said, you know, Scotty, if you really work harder, you might get a real job, make something out of yourself. I'm still trying. I'm still trying to get that first job. Throughout this journey, I've had an advocation, not a vocation. A vocation would be a job. I've had an advocation for these young people I've been so fortunate to coach and so blessed to be around. I was a walk-on JV player at the University of Louisville because I grew up 5 blocks from campus. Lost my dad when I was 9 years old. Halloween day, 15 feet from me of a massive heart attack. You know, when you're 9, Halloween's a pretty good day, especially if it's on a Sunday. And I lose my dad. And I'm a walk-on JV player at U of L, and I get it. I was going to be a pharmacist. I'm the worst chemistry student in the history of the University of Louisville. I think there's a plaque on campus that says, "You're set the worst chemistry student." And then I was fortunate enough to be a graduate assistant under Coach Crum. Then I was on his staff his last 9 years, or his last 5 years, excuse me. In between that time, I coached at Virginia Commonwealth University under a Bellarmine graduate named Mike Polio. And Tubby Smith and I were assistant coaches together. What does that mean? That's a bond that'll last a lifetime. The day we transitioned to the Atlantic Sun, one of the strongest, most emotional calls was Tubby Smith. And we were talking about scheduling, that we would get together and play. I mean, and he coached then later, of course, at the University of Kentucky. So we've always stayed close. If he ever came to Louisville to recruit, he bounced to a Bellarmine practice. I mean, no matter where he was, at Memphis or at High Point or at Kentucky, that bond will be a lifetime. And then Coach Pitino's hired in 2001. He had never kept a coach from the previous staff in his life, not at Kentucky, not at Providence, not with the Celtics. And I was kept. And the day of the transition, the very number 2 call that my phone got that day was Coach Pitino from Greece calling me. And it was an incredibly emotional phone call because there's periods of it where he was overcome with emotion, how proud he was. And then he would revert and say, do you remember when, Scotty, you remember? And then it would revert back to, this is going to be an unbelievable legacy. This is like when I was at Providence with Billy Donovan and Delray Brooks. And then he would say, Scotty, you remember in 2005 we went to the Final Four? And Kendra, I'll tell you something about Coach Pitino. And this is embarrassing. The day he was hired, the day he kept me, it was 2 weeks after he'd been hired. He turned to me that morning. We had a group individual instruction. And at the end of the group, he said, Scotty, tell me, how old are your sons? At the time, Russ and Doug were 9 and 11. I said, they're 9 and 11. He goes, yeah, I knew that. He said, name me one thing your dad ever saw you do. And I looked at him. I said, what? I said, I lost my dad when I was 9. He goes, no, name me one thing. And he started naming. Did he see you graduate from high school? Did he see you play in high school? Did he see you graduate from U of L? Did he see you win a state championship? Did he see you get married? I'm like, no, sir, coach. He didn't see me do anything. And he said, you can't, and he died of a heart attack. I said, yes, sir. He said, you can't look like that and work for me. He said, go get yourself in shape so you grow up and see your sons do great things that your dad never saw you do. And in 1 year to the date, I lost 73 pounds. And I ran 5 miles this morning. It changed my life. He knew the button to push. So Coach Crum, Coach Patino, Coach Polio, Tubby Smith, my high school coach, my middle school coach, they shaped my life. And it's amazing as I coach, people says, why are you a coach? Coaching found me. I wasn't born and said, I'm gonna be a coach. Coaching found me because of those mentors in my life who coached me. They enabled coaching to find me. And like I say, here I'm sitting, never had a real job in my life.
All right, that's wow, that's awesome. I mean, and just one last question I wanted to ask, and it's just really piggybacking off of that last question, because as you said, your number one mission is just to put students first, and we do the same thing here at the A-Sign. Just tell me, just given that you've coached NBA players, and you even have Allen Houston jumping in on Zoom calls, how important is it for you to connect with your student athletes and keeping in contact with them even beyond their playing days?
Well, I'll answer in two ways. One, our goal as a staff is to instill dedication, discipline, attention to detail in these formative years of their life as a college athlete that they're going to call upon for the next 45 years of their life. Think of this. When these players that I'm recruiting right now and that are in our program, all this research will show you as they end their career, in the middle of their career, there's not going to be one automobile in the United States of America driven by a human being. Not one. They're all going to be self-driven. Not one. So we have to instill these players the confidence to have 45 of the greatest years of their life because of what they learned here in terms of discipline, dedication, and attention to detail. Now, the second part of this answer, I've been incredibly, incredibly blessed and fortunate. But I will say this, one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life as a high school coach, or as a college coach, as a high school coach, one of the greatest thrills. I coached a national champion. I went to a Final Four in Division I. I coached a high school state champion. Over a year period, I had the 1988 Kentucky State high school champions to my house. None of them wanted to bring their wives because they didn't meet them in high school. And they said, Coach, she'll want to leave at 9:30 and I want to stay with my guys. So 2 summers ago, next week, I had the 2011 NCAA national champion Bellarmine team to my house. They all met their wives at Bellarmine. They brought them all. It's two of the greatest things I've ever done as a basketball coach. Those kids in high school were 45 years old. The kids at Bellarmine, they were 29 now. But the way and to go to a wedding and sit in the sanctuary and in the congregation and you see the best man was his teammate and 2 other attendants were his teammates. And the other 9 of us are sitting in the congregation. Greatest reward you get in coaching. It's unbelievable. So when I look back, if we can prepare them for the rest of their life, and they look back and they're proud to have been in this basketball program, in this university, we'll be successful.
Awesome. Well, Coach Davenport, I thank you for your time. I know you're in the middle. I hear the shot clocks and the buzzers going off.
I know. And I'm in our area here. I know I got horns going off because we're rotating stations in basketball camp. I actually had a guy outside to kind of watch the door. But you know what? These young people, these 7 to 11-year-olds are the answer. And I tell them every morning, we need you all to be great. We need these young people, to not just our players. And our players need to help the ones that are younger than them. So we're going to get right back at it and finish this day up the best day we've had all week.
Awesome. Well, Coach, let me let you get back to it. This has been Kendrell Watkins with another A-Sun Lunchbox. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at A-Sun Sports, and also like us on Facebook. All right. And again, Coach Davenport, thank you for everything.
Kendrell, stay healthy, stay safe.
All right, I'm working on it. I'm going to try to get out there and run now. It won't be 5 miles, but it'll be something.
What's what you wish for? Come on.
All right, take care.
Thanks, guys.